You are listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report, episode number 207.4, the IU Report with Grant Shouse. On this edition of the IU Report, Grant Shouse talks about IU men's basketball's coaching search, and that's pretty much it.
You're listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report with your host, Greg Mengel.
Here with Grant Shouse. I'm at Madison Grant High School after hours. It's kind of spooky in the school after hours. And we are here to do more than one podcast today, but one of the podcasts, and maybe the most important, we've kind of been hinting at it for about a month now, talking about the IU coaching search, and now we start to get serious. The fact that there hasn't been an announcement yet leads me to believe it's a coach in the tournament that is going to be the next IU coach. And so we should be keeping an eye on Ole Miss, Drake, and Iowa State. Anybody else?
Clemson.
Oh, Clemson.
McNeese State. I honestly just started off here right away.
McNeese State?
Oh, yeah. Will Wade.
Okay.
My thing is this has felt like it's gone on for forever, hasn't it?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, with Mike Woodson announcing he was retiring at the beginning of February, first week of February, it was on the Friday of the girls' sectional semifinals. That seems like ages ago, 6 weeks ago. And, so being on social media and everything and hearing everybody has to say, listen to podcasts, listen to radio interviews, see stuff on TV, it just seems like this has taken forever. And now we have gone from Brad Stevens, the top candidate, quote unquote. I say that in quotes because that was never a reality.
It shouldn't be a reality to check it out.
Exactly.
Sure. Yeah.
We've gone from Brad Stevens, and now we've weaseled our way down to Ben McCollum at Drake, Brad Brownell at Clemson, and maybe Will Wade at McNeese State. I think Iowa's going to get McCollum. Grew up in Iowa City, already is the coach at Drake in the state of Iowa. Grew up an Iowa Hawkeye fan. That's almost, I'd be shocked if he's not the next coach there.
Be like getting Matt Painter away from Purdue.
Yeah. Yeah. Brad Brownell, it makes sense because look at his background. Where's he from? He's from Evansville, Indiana. Who was his high school basketball teammate at Evansville North High School? Calbert Chaney. He has Indiana ties. He's recruited the state of Indiana. I wouldn't say well, but he has had players that have gone from, the state of Indiana, especially the Evansville area, to Clemson. I think he knows the state. And then you have Will Wade, who carries some baggage. That guy carries baggage with him in terms of was really at the forefront of the FBI.
That's why I said McNeese State, really?
Yeah. But his name. What I mean with that is that his name has been thrown around in the discussion.
He gets the job done. We know that.
The man can coach ball. He can coach basketball. A couple sleeper names to look out for. Of course, we've been saying it here for a month now. Is you always got to look back at Chris Beard.
I hope so.
And I really that if it were up to me, that's who it would be. But
that'd
I don't
be
think
my
it
first
is.
call.
Yeah, and my thing is that I don't think Indiana's going to get him. I really don't think they're going to be able to lure him away because the fan base, first of all, does not want him. I don't know why. I don't know why they don't want him.
Makes no sense.
He carries baggage with him in terms of his domestic violence past. And
which, after you mentioned the other night, I read about, you're right, he was not right in his actions. He also was not criminal in his actions. He was innocent.
That's why charges were dropped on him.
And he not only was he not
that's
guilty,
why he's coaching.
Yeah, not only was he not guilty of the charges, he was innocent of the charges. They were false charges. In fact.
Yeah, exactly. And people with literally Google it. Google him. Yeah. Literally. Just read about it. I mean, the truth's going to be told with him. But to the fan base who doesn't want to do the research, doesn't want to Google, has no problem Googling the football coach, apparently, doesn't want to Google the future basketball coach and find out that the baggage, quote unquote baggage he has, it's just inaccurate.
His
It's
baggage
false.
is winning, man.
Yeah,
has he
exactly.
done anything everywhere he's gone?
Everywhere.
I guess one could argue that he is a vagabond, and at IU you want an IU guy. That I could see arguing, but his past is not an issue unless you just don't like winning.
We mentioned Beard, of course, and another name to look at, I think, is Greg McDermott at Creighton. Greg McDermott, according to Vegas, is actually the front runner to be named the head coach. I just like that. That to me, it wouldn't be the worst hire in my opinion. It wouldn't be the worst, but it's like, really? Like I'd 100% want to hire Beard over Greg McDermott. And I have a hard time believing Greg McDermott would want to leave Creighton with what he's built there.
I think you need a home run here, and I think Greg McDermott is a double. He's not a strikeout. Yeah. He's not a pop-out, but he is a double.
Of course.
He could bring stability to the program. There are good things that he could do. You need a home run.
You have to hit a grand slam. I mean, you hit at least what it looks like.
It's been too long.
Yeah. You've hit what we have seen after just 1 year as a home run with the football coach. That's only after 1 year. I mean, let's say the football program.
You can do that now.
Yeah, let's say the football program. I don't want this to be right. Just don't get me wrong. I hope I'm wrong here. Let's say the football program is not good and is not going to the playoffs and goes back to the way it was with Cignetti. I don't think it will, but I'm just saying as an example. Does that get downgraded from a home run to, a base hit, a strikeout, a pop out? I mean, seriously.
No, it doesn't. No more than a triple after last year. It's growing up an IU fan, really IU football fan as a kid. It was the most incredible season I've ever seen.
Ever.
From any coach that I can remember. And it might not have just been coaching. It might have been a lot of things coming together at one time.
I think that plays a part in it, yes.
But what they did and how they did it, and they just every week, it was amazing how every week they came out and put their foot on the throat of the opponent. Every week they had a better game plan than the other team.
Mm-hmm. Isn't that the point of all this?
It really is.
Right. Talking about with the football coach and tying that back into the basketball program is that we know this administration with Scott Dolson and the president, Pamela Whitten. We know that they are capable of finding the right people to lead their programs. We know that. So that leads me to believe that they'll make what I think is the right call in this situation. In terms of hiring Mike Woodson 4 years ago at around this time, I'm not so sure how much of that was really up to the athletic director and the president. I know Mike Woodson was really good friends with Quinn Buckner, who's the chairman of Indiana University. So, like, to translate that to high school terms, the chairman's like the school board president, kind of. You know what I mean? He was really good friends with him, and I think Quinn Buckner lobbied and pushed and said, we're going to do this my way, and we're going to hire the guy I want. And obviously, what happened has happened.
And Quinn Buckner should definitely have his say, for sure.
He should.
Yes.
But that doesn't mean he's always correct. I'm a firm believer that they are going to make the right decision here, and I'm looking forward to seeing who that's going to be. And I can tell you this, Greg, we're recording this on Monday night, St. Patrick's Day, March 17th. I'm telling you, I have a really good feeling that by this time next week, Indiana will have named a coach or will be getting ready to name a coach in the coming days.
Whether that has to happen.
Well, it's going to happen.
Right.
They're going to make a firm decision if they already haven't this week. You literally have, unless you're getting someone that could be a Final Four caliber coach, and I don't think they are. I don't think they're getting the guy at Florida who could take his team to the Final Four this year. We'll see. I don't think they're getting a guy like him. I think they're getting someone that may be coaching in the tournament this week that's going to get knocked out Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. And then they're going to make that announcement when they can. I think they already have their guy. I think they know who it is, and they're waiting for that guy to be done with his team season and then they'll make the announcement. But I don't know who that is.
As a guy who last time said that Brad Underwood was the right choice, and he was never really considered, I'm telling you that Chris Beard is the right guy and should be the coach of this program.
I'm glad we're on the same page with this because you're really one of the only ones I've talked to that actually agrees with. My dad is lobbying for Chris Beard.
I can't imagine having a better choice than that.
Yeah.
Right there at your fingertips. And the others, and by the way, I think Brad Brownell is a really good coach.
I don't think he's the answer.
He hasn't proven it for long enough for me. I think this, again, you need a guy who's been proving it over and over and over. To me, those guys are Chris Beard and Will Wade. And Will Wade's the one with the real baggage, not Chris Beard.
Right.
And then Steve Alford. Thoughts on that?
Alford is a little bit of a sleeper, in my opinion. I honestly, he's won over 700 games. He's won 700 games in his career, just surpassed that amount not too long ago. Great guy. Loves Indiana. Indiana loves him. I guarantee you, well, I know for a fact, I'm going to plug this a little bit here. I know for a fact my girlfriend's mom still has the hots for Steve Alford.
Yes, everyone in my generation.
The people.
Every young girl from my generation.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And they
the hair,
just the guy. The guy was
All-American
an icon.
boy. Yeah,
the guy was an icon. I mean, he was everything. Like, he was a guy in a girl's dream. My dad. That's my dad's all-time favorite player. My dad has always said,
everyone in my generation, that's their favorite player.
Right. My dad has always said,
so.
He's always said that if he could do an interview with Alford, he goes, that's an interview I could show up with and have no notes and just go right off the top of my head. That's what he's always told me. But Alford would be a great hire for the fans. I think the fans would really get behind it. But if he doesn't win, and we saw what just happened with Mike Woodson, if he doesn't win,
but he didn't tarnish his IU reputation, really, did he?
I think he did.
Maybe with the Don Fisher stuff.
I think he tarnished his reputation by not winning as a coach. I think he's tarnished his reputation as a coach, not as a player.
I know, but I'm saying in the end, Mike Woodson will be remembered as one of the all-time IU greats, in spite of what happened as the coaching. He didn't embarrass the university.
I don't think he
or anything like that.
I don't.
No, he's a good guy.
You got to think about it.
The situation was not right. I thought it was obvious from the beginning.
Yeah,
that it was not the right situation, and it turned out to be correct. But now,
you just
I think Steve Alford again.
Here's my thing with Alford. Alford has been a coach for a long time, and I don't even remember it because I wasn't alive. But the only success where he's gone deep in the tournament, he's never taken a team to the Final Four. The last time he's taken a team to the Final Four was in Division III at Manchester College back in the 90s, 1994.
But he's a competent coach.
He is.
And he knows what he's doing. Mm-hmm. He's a professional. He's an IU legend.
He would get the respect of the fan base immediately.
And it would buy everybody time. Because whoever comes in next have to hit a home run right away.
Here's a stat.
But if Steve Alford comes in, you probably get a couple of years.
I think so. Here's a stat that could probably be mind-boggling for you. It's not that mind-boggling for me because I wasn't around in that era, but it's kind of mind-boggling for your generation, my parents' generation, in that Steve Alford is now older than when Bob Knight coached his last game at Indiana in 2000. He's now older than Bob Knight when he coached his last game there at IU.
Wow.
That's just, it's incredible, isn't it?
Wow.
Because,
Knight
be honest with me, Greg.
Knight always looked older than he was.
Oh, that's the stress of coaching a college basketball
team. He was an
team.
adult out of the womb, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Oh, there's no question. That guy, I was talking about this with someone the other day. That guy had silver white hair when he was 50. Yeah, that guy had gray hair when he was 50. Bob Knight was actually one of the smartest people
Oh,
of all
absolutely.
time. He was very book
Absolutely.
smart. The guy read a ton. I mean, we're not talking Dr. Seuss. We're talking like the big,
Absolutely.
thick books. I mean, the guy was really smart, and
Yep.
it shows. I mean, he was a smart coach. But
He's a guy that was a yin and yang.
here's something that I thought was funny is someone posted like the odds of who's going to be the next coach. I know you just had it pulled up there. And the one that's funny to me is the plus 6,000 that they're going to hire Pat Knight.
I love it.
That's hilarious.
I love that it's on there.
It's awesome. I've actually talked to Pat about this about a month ago, and I asked him. I said, jokingly, "You're not going to be a candidate for that Indiana job, are you?" He goes, "Oh, no way, no way." I said, "Okay." He goes, "Nah." If they called me, I'd tell them no. So that to me is just a little fun. I think that has to be a joke.
Billy Donovan would also be a home run.
Oh, that'd be great. But I just don't think you're going to be able to lure him out. It's just not going to happen. I think you're honestly, in my opinion, you're more likely to get Brad Stevens than you would be Billy Donovan, in my opinion.
All right, Grant. Well, the men's basketball season is over. Then we're going to talk a tiny bit about the women and their draw. Mm-hmm. And then next week, we'll start to talk about some spring sports. Corbin Dickerson on the baseball team. Woo, second in the nation in home runs.
They had a really good weekend this weekend. Swept Ohio State.
We'll talk about them next week. Your final thoughts on a disappointing 24-25 Hoosier season?
It was disappointing. And we've hammered it on here before. It sounds like a broken record in terms of Indiana went out and got one of the most talented portal hauls, a very talented roster coming into the season. And the season looked really bright. It looked like it could be shaping up to be one of the best seasons on paper in a long time. The thing I have with it, Greg, is that Indiana did themselves no favors by the way they scheduled their non-conference. It was a poorly scheduled non-conference. Yes, they had the tournament in Atlantis where they had, they played Louisville, they played Gonzaga, and they played Providence. Louisville and Gonzaga are in the tournament. Got blown out. Absolutely just smoked. Played South Carolina.
But it's early in the season with a lot of roster turnover. You kind of forgive that.
In retrospect, you forgive that. But at the time, I think people are like, okay, like, what's up with this? And they didn't get off to a great start in terms of beating opponents. Like, the biggest eyebrow raiser to me where I thought this could be a problem this year was in the Eastern Illinois game. Eastern Illinois built like a 9-point lead at one point in the first half. Indiana was trailing Eastern Illinois, who finished in the bottom of their league at the half. They were down at the half against Eastern Illinois at home on a Sunday. It's a Sunday afternoon game. That's when I was like, this could be a problem. And it was funny because I saw someone that I'm friends with on Facebook went to the game, and they posted how they were at the game and everything, and I commented and said, "I'm sorry you had to witness that." Like it was brutal. That to me was the first eyebrow raiser. And then as the season went on, things started to look up. At one point, I mean, they were ranked. This was a team that was, they were 14-3, I think, at one point, and then just kind of stumbled down the stretch. I mean, they had the streak where they lost 7 out of 8, 8 out of 9, whatever it was, and the best win of the year by far was that Purdue game. I mean, that's just beat your rival at home in dominating fashion. I mean, they played as well the half as you could ask them to play all year. If they'd been playing like that all year, it'd be a different story.
And the Ohio State win, too.
That was awesome.
It looked like you were in the tournament, but.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I said to people close to me, I was like, it doesn't matter what happens in the Big Ten tournament, they're in. I said they could lose that game to Oregon. I think they'll be in. The thing is that this is saying I've seen from a guy named John Rothstein on Twitter is that fan bases make plans and bid stealers laugh. And I think the fan base was planning, okay, Indiana's going to get in. They're going to be one of the last 4 in. They're going to probably be playing at Dayton or wherever. They could get in as a flat-out 11 seed. Great. Awesome. Nah. just didn't happen that way. And I mean, it's just the way it is. And it goes back to coaching. Mike Whitson was not great this year. Bad performance. The year prior, honestly, I would argue that not this past year, but the year before, Indiana was almost better in some aspects. They were a 6th seed in the Big Ten tournament. And we were all sitting there like, man, this seems bad. Like, this seems not fun to watch. And they were a 6th seed. Then they do what they did and get the portal haul that they had. And it's like, okay, they're going to be better than a 6th seed. Nah, they just played terrible in the Big Ten. But that also goes to show that Indiana had that talented of a roster, and the Big Ten was that deep this year. The Big Ten was loaded.
It was. Speaking of which, I thought IU seed was a little low in the women's tournament because I thought they played a really good Big Ten and
They
then
did.
beat Oregon in the tournament. I thought they probably should be a 7, maybe even a 6. We think they can win their first round tournament. Unfortunately, they got South Carolina again in the second round, but this year, that's not quite the death sentence it has been.
No.
And of the number 1 seeds, might be one of the ones you want.
Yeah, South Carolina is definitely in the women's tournament the most, I think, vulnerable 1 seed. I think they were the 4th 1 seed. So you have your outright 1, 2, and 3, and they were the 4th. I don't mind Indiana's draw. That I was honestly shocked that they got what they got. I thought they would be a 7 I thought they'd be a 10 seed. I thought they actually were overseeded than what they were going to be. But you look at the schedule, the Big Ten in women's is loaded too. USC, UCLA,
loaded.
Ohio State.
Yeah.
They beat Ohio State at home this year, which was huge. Maryland's always good.
Yep.
Illinois, they lost at home too. I was at that game. That was tough. I think that game, in retrospect, really hurt their seeding.
Yeah, and especially the was it Harvard earlier?
Losing to Harvard, lost on the road at Butler.
Yeah, that's right.
That hurt
that
them.
stretch really
probably
hurt them in the end. But
the beginning of the year was hard.
By the end of the year, it was obvious they were, a top 8 team in the Big Ten, which makes you, I think, a top 25 to 30 team in the country, right?
Yeah. Honestly, I've had a lot of fun watching that team over the last few years, from Grace Berger to Mackenzie Holmes, who's probably the greatest player in women's history to ever put on the jersey. And it trickles down into players like Sydney Parrish, who I remember watching when she was in high school. And it makes me kind of take a step back because I'm like, man, I was in high school at the same time like Sydney Parrish was in high school. Like, that's crazy to me.
Yeah.
She was much older than me. She was 3 years older than me. Talking about like Sydney Parrish has been so fun to watch. Chloe Moore McNeil for them. And Michelle knows all about this too. Is getting them back was huge. And they're seniors. They don't have any eligibility left. They're going to be gone. And it's going to feel different.
Yeah, but the program's in good hands with Terry Moore. Sure.
Oh man, I love Terry Moore. Absolutely.
In the big 3 sports, they are 2 for 3 right now.
They are. They are. And it goes back to the hiring process for the men's program is you got to go get that 3rd.
You got to get it right. Thank you so much to Grant. Love the work that he's doing. Glad that he's doing it for us. And thank you for listening. Always appreciate it. If you are interested in seeing us continue to grow and thrive, please share the Central Indiana Sports Report with your friends and family. And the Central Indiana Sports Report is brought to you by TG Media. And I'm Susie.